We are learning to synthesize using the point of view chart. What is synthesizing? Synthesizing is putting together information from the text with your own prior knowledge to develop new ideas and understandings. It can mean using your new knowledge to create something like a model or a plan. And this little girl, this is her speech, her thought bubble that she's got here. My thinking has changed since I've read this story. I used to think people in wheelchairs could go pretty much all of the places I can. Now I realise that it's nowhere near the truth. After reading about Meg, I now understand some of the difficulties people with disabilities face when trying to get around in public places. This girl's thought bubble shows her synthesising that she's done about people in wheelchairs. It shows us what her prior knowledge was. So here she used to think people in wheelchairs could go pretty much all the places that she could. And this is her new knowledge. She now understands some of the difficulties of trying to get around in public places. One activity we can do to help us with the skill of synthesising is to use a point of view chart. This helps us to look at different people's point of view. So what we're going to do today is we're going to have a look at a story, and then we're going to look at the point of view of 4 different characters from that story. We're going to have a look at this story here that was one of Fire Megan's stories when she was a little girl, called Red Riding Hood. You might know this story. This is Red Riding Hood. She is at home playing with her toys. Red Riding Hood's mummy says, "Come here, Red Riding Hood. Grandma is at home in bed. I have some cakes for her. I want you to go and give the cakes to Grandma, please." "Yes," says Red Riding Hood. "I want to go and see Grandma and give her the cakes." Mummy gives the cakes to Red Riding Hood. "Goodbye," says Red Riding Hood. "Goodbye," says her mummy. "See that the big bad wolf does not get you." Red Riding Hood sees some trees and some flowers. "Grandma likes flowers," she says. "I can get some flowers for Grandma." The big bad wolf sees Red Riding Hood. "Come and play with me," he says. "No," says Red Riding Hood. "I cannot play with you. I have to go and see Grandma. She is in bed. I have some cakes and flowers for her." The wolf runs to Grandma's house. He says, "Grandma, Grandma, I want to come in." Grandma is in bed. "Is that you, Red Riding Hood?" she says. "Yes," says the big bad wolf. Grandma gets up. She sees the wolf. "Help, help," she says. She gets up into a cupboard. The big bad wolf comes in. He gets Grandma's hat and shawl and jumps into Grandma's bed. Red Riding Hood has the cakes and the flowers. She comes to Grandma's home. "Grandma," she says, "it is Red Riding Hood. Please can I come in?" "Yes," says the big bad wolf. "You can come in. I want to see you, Red Riding Hood." Red Riding Hood comes in. She says, "Look, Grandma, I have some cakes and some flowers for you." She looks at the wolf. He is in Grandma's bed. He has Grandma's hat and shawl on. "You have big eyes, Grandma," says Red Riding Hood. "Yes," says the wolf. "They are good to see you with." "You have big ears, Grandma," says Red Riding Hood. "Yes," says the wolf. "They are good to hear you with." "You have big teeth, Grandma," says Red Riding Hood. "Yes," says the big bad wolf. "They are good to eat you with." Okay, I hate to stop the story there, but I know that you know how it ends. We're going to go back and have a look at our point of view chart now. So we're going to think of 4 characters from the story and what their thoughts were around what was happening. So first of all, thinking about Mum. Okay, so the things that Mum was thinking was that Grandma needs food, Red Riding Hood could deliver the food, and that Red Riding Hood is responsible. and she knows that she can go to Grandma's and give her the food. So now we're thinking of it from Red Riding Hood's point of view. So the things that Red Riding Hood is thinking is, I want to help Grandma, I know not to talk to the wolf, and Grandma looks strange. And now thinking about it from Grandma's point of view. So Grandma's thinking, I don't feel well. I hope Red Riding Hood comes soon. Ah, a wolf! I must hide. So the wolf is thinking, oh, there's Red Riding Hood. I want to eat her. I will trick Red Riding Hood. I will disguise myself as Grandma, then eat up Red Riding Hood. So you can see with this point of view chart, we're thinking of things from the 4 characters' different point of view, what it was that they were thinking, what Mum was thinking, what Red Riding Hood was thinking, what Grandma was thinking, and what the wolf was thinking. Today, you're going to fill in a point of view chart based on the story that you read, thinking of the point of view of each character. You might not have 4 characters that you can use, but just use up as many spaces as you can based on how many characters are in your story.